We're coming to you today from Melbourne, Australia, and we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are recording, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening to the recording today.
Hello and welcome to the Olfactive Melbourne podcast. Our show is all about elevating Australian perfumery through conversations with Australian perfume houses who take us on a guided masterclass through a fragrance that best represents their brand. Hello and welcome to the Olfactive Melbourne podcast. I'm your co-host, Trent Stokes.
And I'm Robin Stokes. This evening we're here with John Domjan from Oric Fragrances. Hi, John.
Guys, thanks so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
We're so excited to have you with us. Now, let's kick off the show with just a very quick overview of Oric Fragrances. If you could tell us, when did you launch and where are you based?
Cool. So we launched officially in 2024 and we're based in Melbourne. So all of my product is created in Melbourne, from the packaging to the fragrance oils, which was super important to me to kind of keep everything local and keep it within Australia as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. And we're very curious about the name Oric. So tell us a little bit about, what does Oric mean to you?
Sure. So Oric is a Hungarian word, and don't worry if you stutter over it a little bit because it's not a very easy word to say, but it has a few different meanings. So one of the meanings of Oric is eternal or everlasting, but it can also be used in context of inheritance. Like there's a Hungarian word that says Örököm or Öröklöm, which means I inherited or I inherit. So there's kind of a dual meaning between that. I kind of wanted to use the word to speak about these kind of everlasting or eternal moments that are captured within the fragrances, but also the idea that in popular culture, we inherit certain experiences simply by existing within our culture. So there's kind of a cross tie between all of those.
That's really fascinating. So it's Oric.
Oric.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna struggle a little bit, and I'll have my Aussie twang. It'll be Oric sometimes as we go through the podcast, but yeah, feel free to correct me as we go along. Fantastic. So as you know, this podcast is wrapped around a masterclass, so it unfolds in real time, and we like to guide our listeners and our viewers through a fragrance that best represents your brand. So I guess the question for you to start with is, which particular fragrance from your collection have you decided to feature today?
So we're going to feature my absolute favorite fragrance, which is 5 a.m.
5 a.m. Fantastic. And why have you decided to choose that particular fragrance to feature?
I think out of all of the fragrances, it's probably the most subtle, but in that sense, it's kind of very calming and soothing. So whereas some of the other fragrances might be divisive, like Vapor Broom, or quite acidic, like Rave, this is one that's extremely contemplative. So I thought it'd be a great point of discussion for us.
Oh, fantastic. I think that's perfect for today. I think before the show, we were having a little bit of a chat about it's been a little bit of a tough day.
That has been a day.
What a perfect fragrance for a tough day, so we can all relax. So we're going to get stuck into it straight away. What we're going to do is spray the fragrance out. And so for people who maybe don't regularly watch or listen to the show, what we like to do is spray the fragrance out on both our skin and onto blotters. Now, the reason why we do this is because on the blotter, we're going to get a very consistent experience. So we're all going to be smelling the same thing on the blotter. Whereas when we spray it onto our skin, we're going to have quite a personal experience. And there's a number of reasons for that, some of which will be the natural heat on your skin. It could be the microbiome on your skin. It can just be your skin chemistry in general. So we'll always spray it onto both. Wow, it's already coming through. Fantastic. Now, I want to get my nose on it straight away, but before we do, we have a bit of a tradition on the show. We like to explain the perfume pyramid. So what you'll see on your screen at the moment is a perfume pyramid, and at the very top of that pyramid, you'll see opening notes. And that's what we're going to be spelling now. So opening notes are made up of the lightest and the most volatile of the fragrance molecules. And that simply means that those molecules will surface in the fragrance first. So you smell them first, but they'll also dissipate the fastest. making way for the heart notes. Now, in saying that, when we smell the opening notes here, we won't necessarily just smell opening notes. We may get some of the heart notes coming through, but it's just the easiest way to explain how the perfume is structured. This show is proudly sponsored by Watchvault, Australia's premier destination for luxury and vintage timepieces. Every watch is trusted, verified, and ready for its next chapter. Visit watchvault.com.au to discover your next timeless investment. So, with all of that explained, John, let's have a smell, and then you can explain to us what's actually what the notes are.
Mm.
So lovely.
Mm.
I can never get enough of it.
Mm.
It's definitely one of my daily drivers for
Oh,
sure.
Wow, it's so fresh.
Yep, it's just really beautiful in the air too. Like as soon as you spray it, it's get that beautiful waft.
Absolutely. I was just getting distracted as I was trying to explain the perfume pyramid. So wow, that's just it really it's quite unique as well. But I'm not going to get stuck into it straight away. What other notes we're actually experiencing there in the opening?
So in the opening, we're getting notes, very aquatic notes, very ozonic notes, fresh notes, watery kind of notes.
Yeah, I've got to say that's probably the first thing that I'm getting is that wateriness coming through. Ozonic is a really great way to describe it as well. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'd agree. Definitely. It's quite hard to describe, actually. I'm a little lost for words.
Yeah, I think that's probably a sign of a really well
I was going to say
fragrance.
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's what we want with an avant-garde perfume.
Absolutely. We don't necessarily want to pick out the individual notes. We want it just nice and blended, and that gives us a bit of an experience. So,
Sure.
so when we talk about a fragrance like this, and we've got aquatic notes and watery notes, what I'm assuming here is that we've got a story or we're painting a scene.
We are indeed.
Fantastic. So tell us, what are we actually imagining here as we're smelling the fragrance?
So 5 a.m. speaks of the point just before the dawn, just before the light starts to crack over the horizon, and just as the world is slowly waking up.
Okay, that makes sense. So the name is now gelling for me. 5 a.m. is the actual 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's unique sort of time of the morning where the sun is about to reveal itself. That's still a little bit dark. Okay.
Yeah.
But also that stillness.
That very quiet.
That's very quiet still. It's one of the rare moments in the world where everything is dead still.
That's my wake up time in the morning is 5 a.m. And I've got to say, I mean, Robin and I have got children. We've got teenage children. It's probably the only time in which we do have that time to ourselves where it's just quiet. Robin goes off and does her thing. I do my thing. We just have our own time just to have an hour in the morning where we can just, wake up and not just wake up, but just get into the day and just have some contemplative time.
I feel you. I do the same thing. I make sure I wake up an hour early because I want to do the same thing. I don't want to rush. I want to have that contemplative time to kind of, have a coffee, sit down, read something, engage somehow, and slowly wake my brain and my body up rather than rushing around, because there's nothing worse in my opinion.
It's so true. Like on those days, like I like to get up and walk, and often I'll walk with a friend, and that's be my social thing for the week. But if for some reason I sleep in a little bit later and everyone else in the household is up and about, I feel like I'm already on the back foot trying to get back into the swing of things. And just having that time, as you say, that beautiful time in the morning on your own or to contemplate makes all the difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just don't want to wake up and rush out the door. It doesn't set your day up very well. All right, so we're at 5 a.m. in the morning. It's nice and quiet. We're waking up to the world. Are we in a particular place?
Yes. So the thing I really wanted to convey with this was that moment where you're stepping outside of your home, your house, your apartment, whatever, from that very still, stagnant kind of air that you're very used to breathing, and kind of being bombarded with this incredible wet atmospheric scent that comes with the pre-dawn. And it's so incredibly captivating. I remember coming out of my home so many times, going to work at 5 a.m., like yourself, getting ready, and just being hit in the summer with this incredible fragrances, the moisture in the air, the night flowers blooming into the day flowers. We want to kind of wake up with the world. And this fragrance is our kind of journey into waking up.
I'm getting this. So I
Yes,
think
me too.
I provided a little bit of a caveat when I was explaining the opening notes that it seems linear. We smell opening notes and then heart notes and then base notes, but that's not really the way it works. You will get some of the heart notes starting to come through in the opening there, and I'm not just getting the watery and ozonic notes here. I am getting some florals sort of coming through as well. So that picture of stepping out, the moisture that's sort of drying off the grass, and those flowers coming through, that's really the picture that's being painted here. I think you've captured it really well.
Yeah, that water element was very, very important to me. And I remember we were talking so much about creating this like water accord, and it took so many tries to get it right. And in the end, we had a second final version of 5 a.m. I was like, amp up the water, like max amp up the water. I said to Flora, imagine like an iris or a lily suspended in a water molecule and times that by 1,000.
All right, that's a very specific brief. Dial it up.
But you know what?
Pump
She
those
did it.
numbers.
Yeah,
She did it.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Absolutely. It's really very, very unique that she's, it's not all water. So when we pumped it up a lot, it's not that we're just getting water. It's still very well balanced, but you definitely get that watery note. And I think this is something that always amazes me with perfumery, because I guess for people who might be listening or watching, you've just mentioned that it's an accord, and an accord isn't an actual note. It's a representation of what water might smell like if we combine certain notes together. So we're not just pouring water into perfume. It just it can't work like that. Same goes with the ozonic type of smell that we're getting here. That I imagine is also an accord.
Absolutely.
And so we're trying to capture the sense of what it smells like in the ozone at 5 a.m. in this very specific circumstance. And so just amazing how a talented perfumer can really capture that.
Create the atmosphere almost.
Yeah, definitely. It's just an abstract concept, and comes down to kind of their interpretation, their formulation, and then together we kind of finalized the accord and popped it straight in, and it worked wonderfully.
Now, this is one of the things that I find really unique about this particular fragrance, and many of the fragrances within your range, which we'll get into a little bit later. But quite often, the notes that you list are mostly accords.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks very highly of how abstract the brand is overall, because we're not just picking out various scents or fragrances to kind of put together to create something. We're really looking at like abstract philosophical concepts of what scents smell like or what emotions smell like to create the overall sense.
So that's a bit of the, I guess, the DNA of, I'm going to try here, of Oric. Am I getting that right?
Almost.
Close. I'm going to get the Oric. All right, fantastic. I'm going to try not to Aussiefy it too much. I apologize.
No, not at all.
So is that a bit of the, I guess, the DNA of the brand?
Definitely. I wanted ÖRÖK Fragrances to be an extremely abstract kind of conceptual brand. I wanted to look at fragrance not just as a beautiful scent or a collection of perfumes to create a scent. I really wanted to look at perfume as being an artistic vehicle.
I absolutely think this is an artistic pursuit.
100%.
It's, yes, there is science behind, the construction. A lot of it. And quite often, perfumers are chemists who have specialized in perfumery. Not always. Some people just go directly into perfumery itself. And there's different ways in which you can actually enter into this art form, but it is an expression of art. You're already mentioning that there is story, there is already scene. This is a representation of what you're seeing in your mind and what you're trying to communicate. So absolutely, it is art.
Yeah.
Beautiful. This is incredibly fresh, by the way. So I guess this particular fragrance, we haven't gone all the way through the dry down yet, and we've still got quite a lot to discover in this fragrance. But is this fragrance designed to be a fresh fragrance, more of a spring fragrance, or we've got a few surprises?
I think definitely fresh in mind, just because I really wanted to keep that unique moment in time, that point of 5 a.m. in the body of the whole fragrance, because it was that real captivating sort of scent of coming out of the apartment, smelling the flowers, smelling the water, smelling the dew in the air that really brought so much joy and this like sense of clarity, I guess.
Mm. And just the whole idea of it's a fresh new day, a new beginning.
That's right.
I love that. Mm.
Well, I think that you and Flora have, painted this picture beautifully for us. So now we do have a bit of time now before those heart notes are going to start to appear. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, the masterclass unfolds in real time. So we've probably got about 10 or 15 minutes before we really see those heart notes really present themselves to the full. And that gives us a bit of time to have a bit of a chat. And what I would like to start with is to get an understanding of where the inspiration really came from to get into perfumery in the first place.
So it's something that's always sat with me for a very long time. I have a history of fine art printmaking in my blood. I went to RMIT, I studied for 3 years there, and I was very enamored and engrossed in like process-based art, which is not akin to perfumery, I guess, in many ways. It was obviously a visual medium. I did lots of exhibitions, created lots of work, but as I slowly went through my years of printmaking, I started to turn to installation work. I love this concept that you could literally walk into a room or a space and be instantly transported, not just visually, but maybe orally or maybe by scent, just creating like a space or a paradigm for you to exist in and therefore have perhaps look at things from a different perspective. And so that kind of idea carried on with me even after I finished my studies. I didn't so much, keep up with the printmaking, which is a bit of a shame, but it was scent in particular was something that always stuck with me as being something that could be connected to installation work. So many, many years ago, I was speaking with friends about looking at the psychology of scent, like how it can change our emotions, how it can change our moods, how it might make a change in the environment around us. And so there was lots of back and forth about this idea of like maybe creating like home scents to zone certain spaces, to create feelings, to kind of create something different, whether it's a slight change in mind or a change in mood. And so I think that has always sat in the back of my mind. So when I finally decided to pursue this avenue, that stuck with me very, very heavily. And that's kind of how I came about this idea of scent being an art form rather than just a fragrance.
Makes absolute sense. It's one of those rare things, perfume, that can absolutely transport you to another place instantly, even before you're consciously aware of it. We often talk about perfume being linked to memory. And so often you'll smell something, it can take you all the way back to your childhood, or it can take you to,
Very much.
a favorite holiday, or it could just take you to a place where it reminds you of stepping out the door at
Yep.
5 a.m.
Yeah.
and smelling
Yeah.
the ozone.
Absolutely.
And so that this actually makes quite a lot of sense in terms of your background and where you sort of ended up.
And maybe even to just push a little bit further, if scent can like evoke memory, then it can evoke something visual. So that was where the caveat was for me. Let's create visual art, not by using a visual image, but by using a fragrance, because that means it's subjective to everyone and therefore unique, a point of conversation, a point of connection between people. And that's where the ethos of the brand really is, in that idea of connecting through scent with other people.
Oh, that's so great. I love it. So I just want to know then, how did you go from all that incredible stuff that you just told us about how you had the journey through uni and you always had that connection with scent and the creative side of it, to thinking, okay, I'm going to start a brand?
I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I need to do this. I wanted to create something very unique and share stories about the queer community and my community, celebrate queer joy, and sort of have people see this joy from a different perspective. And what better way to do that than with a subjective idea like using a perfume? The incredible thing is like each story is based on my own personal experience and the experience of like my friends or the community in general. So even though inherently they're queer stories, they're actually stories that everybody can connect to in some kind of way. So here we go back to that idea of connection. And through connection, we find similarities with people. We find conversations. We kind of enrich this idea of human tapestry, like 6 degrees of separation to everybody, simply by maybe taking the time to step into, an ÖRÖK fragrance world and then discuss what we're kind of seeing, what we're feeling, what we're emoting, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So you're very story driven.
Very much.
Absolutely. Makes sense with your background as well. You're wanting to tell a story, paint a picture, give a visual, and that's all, sort of story related. One of the things that sort of stuck in the back of my mind when you said earlier that scent can evoke a visual. We've actually had guests on the show before who have told us that they see smell. So they identify, as soon as they smell something, they identify like a color, and
It's a colour.
Yeah.
it's driving me nuts. I can't remember the word.
Synesthesia.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
So
It's
there's
a tongue twister.
absolutely. So there must be something that is just hardwired into the human brain that does this anyway.
Definitely.
It's just amplified with some people and not so prominent with others. But I think it all takes us to a spot. When I smell this particular fragrance, the color green is what sort of pops into my mind.
Interesting. See, I see like a pale blue.
Yeah, I was also thinking a bit of a blue. Yeah, because I was thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking of the sky, like.
You're thinking of the sky. I'm thinking of the grass.
Yeah,
and that's just where it's safe. There's no right or wrong in this at all. I don't.
But
think there
notice
can be.
what we're doing in this moment. We're having a conversation. We're connecting through these different shared ideas, and that's kind of really the basis of everything here. This is what I really wanted people to kind of get behind.
Absolutely, the shared idea, the shared experience.
Yeah.
It's a very familiar experience that we've all had. So we've all walked out the door early in the morning, and we have smelt this. And I think even though you might be at home listening right now or watching, and you're not actually smelling the fragrance, although I highly recommend that you get the fragrance to smell along with us, because this is a real privilege to be able to do a masterclass with the creative director and owner of a business like this. But you can imagine what that smell smells like. It's hardwired into your brain, but your experience and your experience and all of our experience of that same moment is just a little bit different. And I think it's just been demonstrated with light blue and green.
Yeah, it's very poetic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm not going to get too far off track here. Now, Robin asked you, how did you go from, being inspired to integrate perfume into installations to actually making that leap to starting a brand. I guess, where did it actually start where you went, okay, I'm going to think up a brand name, design packaging, engage with a perfumer? At what point did that actual moment happen for you?
It's really odd. It was very much a roller coaster ride, and it was a very quick process, I've got to say. I think the brand from development to end only took about a year. So I'd made the decision to pull the trigger. I was like, this is something I can really get behind. This is something where I can show my community and the joy behind it. And this is something that I can express my artistic kind of idealism in. And it just, all of that combined was extremely inspiring. So I started looking up ways of creating my own perfume and, trolling the forums, trying to figure out what to do, where to begin. I was running into dead ends left, right, and center. It was extremely difficult to try and find out how to create a perfume or where I could even go to do it. And I remember looking at a few places who wanted extortionate amounts of money just to create a singular perfume. And I was like, this is not affordable. I decided to put all of my savings into this rather than no house deposit for me. It was a business idea. I ended up talking to a few different local perfumers just about the process. And in that, I discovered what a fantastic community of perfumers we had here in Melbourne, or just in Australia in general. I spoke to Flora Fragrances, Andrew and Mary.
Yes.
They were extremely forthcoming, extremely lovely people, happy to just have a chat. And they were kind of talking to me about their process and how they decided to kind of take the reins and do everything themselves. But one of the things that they looked at was actually having a project managed. Now, I hadn't even considered this at this point. I didn't even know it existed. But they put me in touch with a very lovely lady who's a champion in herself. Her name is Roxy, and she owns a company called Roxy Productions. So Roxy Productions, they project manage fragrances, skincare, all that kind of thing. They gave me Roxy's details. I jumped online. We had a Zoom call meeting, and she was absolutely over the moon ecstatic about this idea. She was so excited, which just made me even more excited. So I decided to engage her services, and that's how we started the process. And of course, Roxy took care of most things. She took care of like ordering the bottles, the vials, like where we would source our packaging from, that kind of thing. So all of that stuff, while it was very handheld, was perfect for me because I could focus on the creative direction of where I wanted each fragrance to go. And I started to build the stories up. And there were many stories that I kind of looked at, but settled on this 5 as the initial kind of starting point. And that's how I met Flora through that process.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow,
Yeah.
I've got to say, I mean, if you're sitting at home and you're listening or you're watching, and you wondered how you start a perfume brand, you just gave everybody a 2-minute express lesson on 0 to hero.
Yeah.
And it's quite quick. It's actually, I guess you made it sound quite simple. It's just boom, boom, boom. This was the process, but I'm sure it had its challenges as you were going through the process.
Yeah, of course. Like anything, you're going to have challenges. You've got so many design decisions to make. You've got all of the packaging, for example, we had to design ourselves. I didn't want anything pre-made. All the graphic design is done by a very close friend of mine, Rob. I've known him for over a decade. No one knows me better. So who better to engage for this when I started this process? And his excitement kind of bolstered me on as well. He got behind everything, worked really hard on this brand, and produced something absolutely incredible.
Well, we should take a moment to look at the bottles, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Here you go.
Fantastic. I mean, these are gorgeous. They're quite weighty bottles. So tell us a little bit about the design decision around the design of the bottles.
So I wanted to make something that was really quite beautiful and tactile. So the labels are textured. You've got the double print on the back, which has the art from the box and also from the icon on the front there.
Yeah.
You've got a square lid with a round bottle, and that was very deliberate. I wanted to play on the analogy of the square peg, round hole. So square peg, round hole doesn't always fit everywhere. Like queer people, we don't always fit in everywhere. But like the bottle, we're just as beautiful and just as unique.
That is beautiful. And I think, before we do go to the heart notes, one last and pretty important question is, we've mentioned just in passing the queer community and its importance, but I guess tell me, why is it so important to you to, I guess, represent the queer community through your fragrance range?
I think it's super important because there isn't a lot of queer representation in perfumery. There's hints of it here and there, but nothing that really heroes our joyous stories. And there's stories of pain, there's stories of diversity, there's stories that inspire. And I think it's so important for people to understand where we've come from and where we are now, and even that timeline between, the 80s to now, the struggles that we kind of felt, and we're still coming out on top, still happy. And there's this idea of shared family. Like there's nothing better. Who in the queer community hasn't experienced some sort of trouble with their family? Who in the queer community hasn't said that their friends are their family? And I think that idea of family and community and sticking together and helping each other is super important. So I really wanted to be able to kind of tell those stories in this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think, people's memories can be quite short. And just because in the modern age, there doesn't seem to be challenges like there were back in the 80s and maybe even the 90s. And certainly going, further back from there, it's a community that used to be quite vilified and not accepted. And it used to be a really challenging to be in that community. And you were ostracized, you weren't integrated. And I think what you're doing here is not only celebrating the community, but remembering through your fragrances as well. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and allowing us to take up some space as well and be seen and kind of have those stories heard and have people realize that even though these stories might be inherently queer, there's something we share with each other. these experiences are not just based on a queer experience. They're based on everyone's experience. And that's where the idea of connection comes back into it all.
Yeah, human experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mm.
it is the human experience. And everybody, I mean, you don't have to be queer to enjoy the fragrances. It's
No.
beautiful fragrances. And we all have someone in our life, whether it's a close friend, of which we have many, or a brother or a sister or a
child.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you're giving them a voice. And I think that's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. Well, I think that's a nice transition into, you know, considering we're talking about something quite heartful there. Transitioning into our heart notes.
I see what you did there.
Ah, you saw that little segue. Fantastic.
All right. Well, let's talk about the heart notes. So if we go back to the perfume pyramid, and the heart notes form the center or the core of the perfume pyramid, it's really where the perfume's character and personality really come forward. And normally the heart notes start to appear as those light top notes have dissipated, and they form a transition, like a smooth transition between those top notes and the more dense heart notes. They are normally things like florals or aromatic herbs, spices, perhaps, and the heart tends to linger and last, so it really spends some time with us when we wear the fragrance. This edition of Olfactive Melbourne is proudly sponsored by Silver Australia. Silver Australia design and shape their jewellery in their studio in Melbourne, and they're pleased to offer Olfactive Melbourne customers 20% off when you use the code MASA20. And so, having said all of that, let's have a chat about the hot notes of 5 a.m.
Okay.
Definitely evolved. Much more on the skin than on the blotter. All right. So what are our notes in the heart here?
So this is heroing one of my absolute favorite notes, and it's petrichor. So that smell of the rain, we're leaning still into that very dewy kind of wet feeling, but we're kind of bringing it out now. We're bringing it into our environment. So that's where the petrichor kind of fits in. And of course, we're getting the white floral as well. So a lot of those flowers we spoke about before, you know, night flowers blooming into day flowers. It's elongating the story now.
It's so interesting because when you know the smell of petrichor, which we were saying most people do, they recognize it somewhere in your mind. You recognize that scent, and although it's very, very well blended, it's easy to extract that scent from the fragrance now.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's quite interesting, petrichor, and everybody will know this. It's not the smell of rain; it's the smell just before the rain. The ozone changes, and there's a very particular smell that you get, and you know instinctively that it's about to rain. It's quite an interesting one, petrichor, because all human beings are actually hardwired to love the smell of petrichor. And the reason why this happens is because the smell of rain often indicates survival. So you can imagine, you know, before we were able to, you know, carry water effectively, or being able to dam water or carry water through pipes, you could be going for extended periods of time without water, and you can't go too long without water and not live. And so often the coming rain signaled that that's your time to gather the water and live. For farmers, obviously, that meant that, you know, the fields would start to, you know, receive the water it needed for the plants to grow. So it's one of those things that has been around in our brains for, you know, millions of years, and so we're hardwired to love it. So putting in a fragrance is like a master stroke, absolutely, because people are gonna absolutely love petrichor, but we both love petrichor as well, and so we often perk up when we go, oh, we can smell.
I'm very much the same. It's my happy scent, for sure.
Absolutely.
I have a very, because I grew up in South Africa, and you know, we used to have those thunderstorms in the afternoon, and so, you know, it's not just a scent; it's actually a very strong memory of what that whole experience was like, and how afterwards, how fresh everything felt after that thunderstorm cooled off all the heat in the afternoon. So
And that charged atmosphere, that electrically charged atmosphere.
absolutely, yeah.
I think that this is just a beautiful transition, honestly, from the opening to the heart. It's maintaining the theme all the way through. So we're staying in the ozone. We're staying outside. We're staying in that moment while the fragrance is actually evolving. It's quite interesting. I struggle to imagine how you even brief this into your perfume. Her name is Flora.
Flora, yeah.
What's Flora's full name?
Flora Gourdon. So she's French originally.
Oh, okay. So she's I guess trained in France as a perfumer.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that you were introduced to Flora. So you got a great relationship with her.
We are very close. We hit it off the minute we met each other. We just became like two silly school kids talking about these absurd ideas. She thought they were crazy and she loved it. She was excited to work on something very different that she'd never worked on before, which got me excited. And that was just like two high school girls gasbagging, chit-chatting and just having a wild time.
A match made to
Very much. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I adore her. She's fantastic.
Oh, beautiful. We would love to meet her one day, and maybe we'll have her
Hopefully.
on the podcast, even if it's we do it remotely.
Yeah.
So with a fragrance like 5am, or really any of the fragrances, and we're actually going to explore the broader range in just a moment. But how do you actually engage Flora and say, I want to bring this to life? How do you talk to her about how to interpret these crazy ideas into? She's got to then blend this in and bring those to life. So how do you go through the briefing process?
So it's very involved. There's a lot of talk about emotional landscape, texture. I talk about the story. I tell her, the idea of walking out of the home and being hit with that very like dewy moisture in the air just before the dawn rises. There's a lot of feeling involved. There's a lot of imagery as well. So I'll send her like between 20 to 100 photos, just different images that kind of convey this idea. Because it's so abstract, there's no kind of set formula to create this. So it's really a lot about trust too. And I think because of the way that we kind of hit it off and we engaged with each other, we created a lot of trust between each other, which meant that I was able to trust her to take all the information that I was giving her and create something that matched the vision. And in most cases, she almost instantly hit it off straight away.
Beautiful. So there's probably a little bit of back and forward that does happen through the process. So she might, I guess we've spoken a couple of times about, accords, in the fragrance here. So she might say develop an accord for you and then just send you the accord and go, yeah, great. That's sort of captured the idea of water.
Or different versions of it, and then asking me which one I like best, which one suits the story the best. She might send me different scents as well that she thinks may work or may not work. And then that's kind of how the conversation keeps going until we reformulate and come out with the second version.
Beautiful. And then, of course, you take these individual accords and notes, you've got to combine them. And then I think you said before, hey, take this particular accord and pump it up by
1,000.
Pump those
More
numbers.
Water. More water.
And so, I guess you've got to go through that process where she might combine it all, but you want to see this pop a little bit more. You want this to sort of pull back a little bit more as well.
She might suggest something. She might, have you thought about this? Smell this. Let's think about this. And then I'll say, well, let's think about how this might turn the story this way or that way. So there's a lot of back and forth between us. But it's not laborious at all. We're still super excited. It's still a super, super fun process. And I think that joy, even just of the two of us creating, really speaks to the volume of the whole collection as well.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that it's funny because you've said the brand's a lot about connection, but the connection between yourself and Flora is also part of what makes this brand.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
One thing that just stood out for me, as you were describing that, is texture. That's interesting, right? So I get the photos, right? The photos is the place, and when you'll talk about the scent or the memory or the story, that I can sort of gather. But texture's a really interesting one. I mean, I don't even know how you bring texture to life. And what kind of textures are you sort of talking about with Flora?
Well, for example, we might talk about undergrowth. Undergrowth has got a lot to do with soil, crushed leaves. We might talk about like how the moisture inside the leaves, the crunchiness of the leaves, that kind of thing. Still kind of evoking on emotion, but more about like the feeling of something. So let's start to bring another sense into it to kind of complete the picture as well.
Wow,
It's just incredible how talented these perfumers are, right? To be able to bring those sorts of visions to life.
absolutely. Just,
Definitely.
images, ideas, memories, textures. Sometimes we've heard music as well, like
Yes.
a song,
Mm.
and just, be able to take that and represent it in this way. I think that, perfumers are some of the most talented
Definitely.
sort of artists out there.
Yeah, I would say we're almost painting with senses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, it's amazing. Honestly, you have got an amazing range of fragrances here. Now, just before we do get stuck into smelling the broader range, is Flora the perfumer behind all of your
Yes.
range? Fantastic. All right. So we're going to call out Flora, immensely talented perfumer, and she's done all of these. So just keep this in mind as we're blown away with all of the fragrances we're about to smell. So we've got several other fragrances in the collection. Now, we will always leave it to our guests to tell us where they want to start. So we're going to leave it to you. You tell us, which one would you like to experience first?
Well, seeing as we've started with a light fragrance, let's keep the trend going and let's take a dip into Shoreline.
Okay, great.
Fantastic. All right. So we're going to grab Shoreline. Now, when we're smelling our fragrances, we can't put everything on our skin because we just don't have enough skin, unfortunately, to spray them out. So we are going to stick to the blotters. Now, that means that we're only really going to get the opening notes and some of the heart sort of punching through here. So we're going to sort of lean on you to take us through, hey, what would we experience if we managed to sort of get all the way through?
May I make a cheeky suggestion?
Please do.
And in this case, we actually do spray this on the skin.
All right, hey, we do have some spare skin at the moment.
We have one spare hand, and I say we sacrifice it to the Shoreline.
Let's sacrifice it to the Shoreline. All right. I'm just going to move my microphone for a moment so I can get a spray on the other hand.
Just because Shoreline has a very big ambroxan dose, and ambroxan has a tendency to react better with skin than on paper.
I can already smell why you have suggested this.
And also, I'll tell you a little bit about the story of why it's important to be on the skin too.
All right, let's have a smell.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's start with our notes. So what are we getting here as we're smelling our opening?
So we're getting very fresh aquatic notes, some salt in the air. You're getting a little bit of sunscreen.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm getting, yeah.
Bit of sand.
Gosh, it's changing so quickly that
I can see why you've suggested putting. I can see why you suggested putting it on the skin here.
So much better on the skin.
Because I've got it here on the blotter, and wow, they're
it's
just
almost
very.
like we can't smell it on the blotter.
Yeah,
now.
and that's the ambroxan.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the reason. It's the ambroxan. Yeah. So we're not doing it justice on the blotter at all.
That's why I always say to people, if you smell it in store somewhere, always put it on your skin. Always.
Okay.
Or I'll spray it on me and you can smell me because I love this fragrance.
Yeah, this is beautiful. I've got to say, we've smelt quite a lot of aquatic fragrances before, and many of them are very, very mineral forward, and that can be a little bit challenging. I don't find this really mineral forward. It's really well balanced. It's light.
It was very important to me that we weren't leaning in that direction. I wanted to make an aquatic, but make it something very different. Again, something abstract, but something very different than people don't normally smell.
Yeah, and it's the same with the, like you said, sunscreen. It's a touch of it, so it's not very forward either, but once you know it's there, then you can pick it up.
Sunscreen, driftwood.
I think it's important to call it out that it's not overly mineral forward, because I think sometimes when you've got a fragrance called Shoreline and some of the notes that we're calling out here, that people might have a preconceived idea as to what that might smell like. I promise you do not know what this smells like. All right, so you do need to smell this fragrance. It is, again, it's quite unique, and again, this is a bit of a trend that's happening inside of the brand here. Everything's a little bit unexpected.
Very much. That's the way we like it.
Okay.
Absolutely. So obviously we're representing the shoreline here. So we're standing on the beach. You mentioned sunscreen, so we're sunning ourselves on our towel, on the sand, the smell of the ocean. Is that the sort of picture we're painting here?
Very much. So Shoreline was based around the idea of spending a day with your friends at a nude beach. So this is where all the walls come down. You're your own authentic self. Your skin is shining in the sun. You're with your friends and you're experiencing pure joy. So I quite often describe this fragrance as being pure sunshine.
Beautiful. I've got to say, I wish I had the self-confidence.
Same.
You can.
Well, you can.
You definitely can.
I am way too self-conscious.
Leave it at the door, honestly. Because once you kind of break down that convention and those walls are gone, it's in those moments that you truly find connection with your friends. You're running around the sun, you're playing games, you're talking, you're sunbaking, you're in this environment where you're not hiding anything. You can see everything. And all of a sudden, all of those like preconceived ideas of what you have to hide or not speak about, or, you have this moment to truly be yourself. There's nothing better than that. And that's what Shoreline's all about. That moment in the sun where you can truly just be you.
I love the idea of it. It's sort of, it's almost like that return to childhood type of feeling where you weren't self-conscious, and you used to do that as a kid all the time.
Yeah.
I used to run around in the nud with my friends all the time.
Kids
it's just
always do, right?
Yeah, it's only really since becoming an adult that I've become self-conscious about doing that. It would also help if I wasn't overweight and all the other things that I
That's
battle
a
with.
preconceived notion. See, get rid of that. You don't need it.
I do. That is actually really good advice, and we should shake this off. And we shouldn't be self-conscious. Life is too short to be that way.
Yeah, and there's that whole idea of where you are, being at the beach, because there is that sense of freedom there as well. Anyway, I think even if you haven't done the nude swimming thing, you can still connect to that idea.
Yeah.
So
the idea of pure sunshine, it's wonderful.
I think you've absolutely captured it here. Now, obviously, now we're going to get the chance to go all the way through the dry down here, but it'll extend beyond the end of the show. So for those people who are listening and watching it at home, where is this fragrance going?
So once it kind of dries down a bit, it becomes very creamy. And that's when you kind of get that sandy driftwood aspect through it. So it's very comforting, very nourishing. It's like the sun has been on your skin all day. You're feeling comforted. You're happy. You're in your happy place, essentially.
It's that beautiful feeling that you get at the end of the day, being at the beach, where you just, I'm in total relaxation mode.
Totally.
Love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Gorgeous fragrance, perfect for summer. Actually, it's actually a really well-rounded fragrance. You could probably wear this any time of the year.
Definitely. Anytime you need a bit of vitamin E, you pop that on.
Fantastic. When would you recommend that in terms of a maybe an occasion, just to give people a bit of a pointer? Is there a particular occasion that you might select to wear this?
Definitely. I think any kind of daytime social occasion, casual drinks with friends, that will really kind of sing on your skin, draw attention, draw in the crowd. You'll have those kind of very intimate moments with your friends, and that this Shoreline will just sing out.
Beautiful.
There's a softness to me about it as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's lovely. It's definitely, I've noticed this with both of the fragrances that we've smelt so far with 5am and with Shoreline. I don't think I could pigeonhole this into a male or a female fragrance. They feel quite unisex.
They're very unisex.
Yeah, so they're all completely ungendered. The idea is that anyone can wear them.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Sort
certainly
of getting so far.
Yeah, it certainly makes them more accessible as well, doesn't it? And we often say, Robin and I, because we've got a pretty substantial collection, as you can imagine. We do a podcast about perfume, so we're pretty into fragrance. In order to make it into our collection now, we have to have unisex fragrances. If we can't both wear it, it's just too difficult for us to integrate it into our collection now. So these type of fragrances are so up our alley. It's not funny. Beautiful. All right. So where do you think we should travel to next?
This is an interesting question. Okay, let's maybe stay on the slightly brighter side and hit Rave.
Rave.
Mm.
All right. So I think I know what the story of Rave might be,
Yeah,
but
this one's pretty self-explanatory.
fantastic. Well, let's spray it out onto the blotter. But all right, tell us what is the inspiration for Rave?
So rave, obviously, is based around nightclubbing with your friends, a night out. It's moments in the dark, dancing in the dark, laser light strobing about. It's the smokiness, the acidity in the air from like people drinking or smoking, perhaps. It's energetic. That grapefruit in there is supposed to be very dynamic and kind of bring in that sweaty energy of the nightclub.
Interesting that you say that, because that's the first thing that it was the grapefruit that jumped out at me, but that idea of that sweaty body,
Very sweaty.
yeah, you can see sort of everyone's ripped their tops off.
Yep.
You've been dancing for 3 hours already, and yeah, that it's got that real.
Very much. It's very energetic fragrance. Very
Yeah,
dynamic.
yeah. It's got that very uplifting thing that grapefruit does so well.
Yeah.
There's something else in here that I'm struggling to identify that is familiar.
Is it herbaceous kind of?
Could it be the rhubarb?
That's what it is.
Rhubarb.
It's rhubarb. It's rhubarb. I couldn't quite get my
It's hard
brain to connect
pick
to
out,
it.
isn't
It is, yeah.
Because
But
it's got is it like an acidity or like a sharpness, but sweet.
So it was very important to me to have that acidity in it because, as you may or may not know, in queer culture, we have poppers, amyl nitrate.
Yeah,
So I really wanted to bring a little hint of that into this as well. A little bit of cheekiness, you know?
I won't explain on the show what.
No.
You know what?
We don't need to talk.
It just took me back a very, very long
know.
time.
Yeah, so a very good friend of ours, because we hadn't heard of amyl nitrate before, and he goes, "Oh my God, you have to experience amyl nitrate." And we went. We were on Chapel Street, and he said, "Oh, there's a place to go," and it was like a video shop or something like that.
I know the place you're talking about. It's on Commercial Road.
Yeah, it's on Commercial Road. And we went out to some nightclub. I think it was Chase's nightclub or something. And yeah, we tried it for the first time, and yeah, so we've had the experience.
It's very accurate, isn't it?
It's quite,
Yes.
Yeah. It's a bit of a shock if you are not expecting it. But we were quite a lot younger
Many
than we
years
are
ago.
now. Many 20 plus years ago. So
good blast
shout
from
out
the
to Terry.
past. Yeah.
Thanks, Terry, for introducing us to amyl nitrate. That's a very interesting smell. And so you've sort of captured it in here without actually putting.
Now, I will say I didn't make Flora smell it to get the scent. I was very descriptive.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't need her falling off the chair.
No, I can imagine. She may have been a little bit shocked by the not only the smell but the following sensation that comes from the smell. Interesting. Wow, that makes this really unique. And honestly, I know I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record with it. It's unique. But these fragrances are genuinely very unique. We have, as I just mentioned, a very substantial collection. We spend a lot of time at local perfumeries all around Melbourne. Wherever we go in the world or across different cities in Australia, we smell a lot of fragrances, and I have never smelled anything like this before. And that's quite unique. Absolutely captures the party, nightclub, nightlife. I think you've absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I'm really curious to wear one day and just see how it evolves on my skin, because it is different. Yeah.
I'd love to see the kind of reactions that you get from people from wearing this as well, because this is the type of fragrance that you wear when you really want to be noticed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not necessarily, it doesn't have to be in a good way. Just notice.
Yeah, just notice. Like, there is no subtle about this at all. You walk into a room, everyone turns around and goes, "Where's that coming from?"
Yeah.
I do want to say here, because we've mentioned things like amyl nitrate and it might sound like it's a challenging fragrance. I actually think that this is a very beautiful fragrance. And I know you just said, hey, whether, you smell nice or not, you smell nice wearing this. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. Highly recommend that you smell this. It is very, very unique. It is one of those, if you want to peacock into a room, wear this fragrance. It's gorgeous. Now, as this dries down further, where are we going to end up with this one?
That's where we get the patchouli and the cedar wood coming through. So
Oh,
very woody, kind of hippie kind of fragrances, I guess, which really ties into that kind of rave aesthetic as well.
So it's a bit of a dirty patchouli.
Very much.
Oh, nice. We like dirty patchouli, don't we?
Well, you got to celebrate it, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
sometimes, you do hear it or see a lot of people going, it's not that dirty patchouli, but, you've
Yeah.
got to celebrate the dirty
I think so.
patchouli.
Absolutely. And this is the beautiful thing about different fragrance notes is that patchouli can be expressed in a multitude of different ways,
Totally.
just like every single note that we see in fragrances. And it really depends on what the perfumer decides to do with it. So Flora could say, I can have a look at the note structure and delete certain aspects of the molecules within that fragrance, express some things a little bit more, push other aspects back. And it's the thing that really makes perfumery one of those endless, you'll never have everything's been done.
No.
Mhm.
There will always be something new that you can do because really the endless combinations that can happen with fragrances because you can manipulate those
And I guess
notes.
that kind of ties into the idea of never blind buy, right? Don't look at a set of notes and expect that you'll be able to understand what the composition is because of the way that they're chemically changed or altered or the way that the molecules sit with each other or even certain fragrances, the way they play off each other. You'll never know until you actually smell it.
Yeah.
I think that's
Very, very good point.
It's such good advice because we have been burnt before. It was one of the early lessons that we got in
We
perfume
don't
is
ever do it anymore.
all of those notes, they sound like something that we'd like.
Fantastic.
And then you get it and you go, oh, well,
Not really.
it's a bit average.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. We've even had perfumes where the fragrance notes are exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
And they smell
Different.
completely different.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, and this is one of the reasons why we do the show and we go through the full dry down, is if you walk into a store and you try on a fragrance and you buy it immediately, that's not the fragrance you're going home with. That's why you got to go through the dry down. You got to go all the way through the experience.
I agree.
Really, really important. Really unique, really fun. I love this one. This is great. So this is going to be a tough one to follow up, but where are we going next?
We're going to go to Undergrowth.
Ooh, Undergrowth. That sounds like an interesting one. So I can sort of imagine in my mind what might have inspired this particular fragrance, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Can you?
Well, I'll tell you what I think.
Okay.
So Undergrowth to me sounds like we're going into an old sort of forest and we're crawling our way literally through the undergrowth, through the bushes, that's what I imagine when we say undergrowth. How wrong am I?
Now, by now you should know that there's a twist.
Or there's
Wow.
definitely
You're wanting a twist.
Very
There's
interesting.
definitely a twist. Wow.
So this is a bit salacious. This is a bit naughty. This is based on a beat or a cruising spot for gay men.
All right. So definitely naughty. So I know what a beat is.
Yes, I do too.
But for those people who may not be aware of queer culture, what is a beat?
So a beat is a secluded area, usually in an urban park or a forest, where gay men meet discreetly for sexual relations.
There you go. So you've now been educated. So if you're wondering why that particular area is occupied late at night or strangely in the middle of the day, that's probably very likely a beat.
If there's lots of activity, move along.
All right. So this is the twist. So I wasn't too far off. It is the
definitely
undergrowth.
right.
It's the forest. It's just I missed the bit where we're actually having a little bit of fun.
We are
in the forest.
And it's also like a play on the name, isn't it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. So the play on the fun in this is the ripe cherry.
So it's so interesting because when I sprayed it, it's the first blast I got, but when I come up close, that's not what I'm getting.
No.
So yes,
Very interesting fragrance.
Yes.
This one, the way it kind of changes over time.
Can smell how playful it is. This one, ripe cherry.
Ripe cherry. So not sweet cherry, but ripe cherry. Something sensual, grounding.
So cherry.
Gritty.
Cherry's definitely been in. Like it's been one of those big things. I guess.
Like vanilla.
Like vanilla, yeah. And we've seen a multitude of cherry fragrances that have been released in probably the last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, even earlier.
Yeah, we've smelt a lot of cherry fragrances. Have you ever smelt that cherry profile before?
Oh, no. No.
No.
I would probably not pick it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely a
I
different
actually,
expression
I
of
thought
cherry.
when I first smelled that initial little pop, I thought it might have been raspberry,
Mm.
that kind of scent rather than cherry.
Well,
But there you go.
we called out when we were talking about the opening notes of 5 a.m. that we couldn't actually pick out the individual notes. And I think that's what's happening here in this fragrance as well, is that the cherry's there, but it's just so well blended with everything else that it doesn't just stand out and scream. It's just blended really beautifully. Having said that, I can also get the earthy, undergrowthy.
Yes.
There's something
Crushed
really
vegetation,
intriguing.
soil,
That vegetal
that
note.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
vegetal.
There's a vegetal note in there for sure. Absolutely.
You know, this is people tramping through the undergrowth, you know, stepping on twigs, stepping on moist soil, that kind of thing.
Definitely has that sense about it, doesn't it?
It's got an atmospheric feel.
It's interesting because our experience on blotters tends to be that when you spray it on the blotter, it remains pretty stagnant for quite a long period of time. I guess because you don't
Generally.
have that. Yeah, generally you don't have the heat of the body, you know, sort of pushing the fragrance forward. But what I'm actually getting on the blotter with this one is actually evolving on the blotter, which is a bit of a unique experience for me as well.
The interesting thing about undergrowth is I would say out of all the fragrances, it's one of the longest lasting.
Okay.
It will stay on you for quite some time.
So when you say quite some time, what kind of time frame are we talking about?
I'm talking 6 hours. Easy.
Okay, it's quite
Easy.
yeah. Okay.
But not overpowering,
Yeah.
but present.
Yeah. And I would say that in a way, what I'm smelling on this fragrance, although it's got all those things that we're talking about, it's still got a freshness. So you want, good for a long-lasting fragrance as well. But I'm getting that earthiness now.
Yeah, the earthiness. This is
It's
what I
just-
mean. It's
just
evolving on the
evolved.
strip.
Yeah.
It's quite yeah. I don't think I've experienced that before with it, where it's evolved so rapidly on the
very interesting.
blotter. Interesting.
You're having the imagery play out as well, right? You're seeing yourself there now. You're kind of creating the image in your mind.
Absolutely.
The story.
Yeah, I am there. I can sense that walking through the forest and it crunching under my feet and the vegetation every time that something snaps under my feet or the earth moves or the grass is crushed and that smell that's coming up. It's definitely being captured here. So as again, because we can't go all the way through the dry down, despite the fact that this is evolving on the strip here, where does this fragrance go?
So this gets quite woody with the cypriol, and then we've got the amber and musk to tie in just a little bit more of that like sensuality and comfort.
Yeah, musk definitely makes sense with this fragrance. That gives you that intimate skin type smell that goes with it, and of course amber, undergrowth. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Wow, what a lovely fragrance. I guess it's there's such I guess an evocative story behind this one, so it might help the viewers and the listeners to maybe understand where they might wear a fragrance like this.
I would say this is very much a nighttime fragrance.
Yeah.
This is whether you're going out to dinner or again to a social occasion. This is something that I think you need the cool night air to help kind of breathe with the fragrance. Because don't forget, the setting is based at nighttime in the undergrowth. You kind of want to relive that sensation. So bringing it out at night in cool air, perfect.
Yeah, fantastic. I can smell that it would come alive in the cold for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely lovely. What an interesting story. I love that one.
Thank
I love
you.
how
Yeah.
story-driven these fragrances are. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, I guess where are we heading next?
So now we're going to head to the most divisive fragrance of the 5.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
This one people either love or hate, but either way they have very interesting reactions to it.
Okay, and it's called
Vapor Bloom.
The Vapor Bloom. Now that is an interesting name. Tell us about the name.
So Vapor Bloom came about this idea that I wanted to create a fragrance that's very much based on my love of science fiction. So this is like a little bit of a love letter to sci-fi, but it still ties in with the overall theme. We're talking about post-humanism here. We're talking about the idea that, you know, we're slowly heading towards a future where our bodies will become more mechanical, perhaps less human-made. And then what does that mean for gender? What does that mean for the binary? Where does the queer community sit? What stories will we tell if we lose gender?
Gosh, that's
Wow.
a lot to think
That
about.
is a
isn't
lot
it?
to think about.
And what makes us human?
Mhm. What an inspiration. I mean, you and I were having a bit of a chat before the show, and we've got a shared love of
Science fiction,
sci-fi.
yep.
And we're going to be sharing a whole bunch of books
I certainly hope
after
so.
the show. This straight away
Mm.
gives me that definitely I've got a bit of a metallic
Yes.
smell coming
Yep.
through.
Yeah, if it's familiar in the back of your mind somehow.
So the inspiration for this was quite funny. I said to Flora, I want to create sensation like cold glass in space.
Mm.
But I also said to her, go and find your oldest 2000s computer, pull out all the cords and smell the back of it.
Oh.
Yes.
And that's what this smells like. The
Yes, it
back
is.
of one of those beige old school computers.
Yep. The ones we had in
In high
primary
school,
school.
yeah,
Yeah,
primary
high
school.
school. Yes, that you've nailed it.
Mm.
She's nailed it, I
She
should
did.
say. Yeah,
She had a
absolutely.
lot of
Very
trouble with this one. She
unusual.
initially told me it smelled like a dirty fridge, and she was very unhappy with that. But somehow, over the course of the months, she managed to really pull it out and created
Yeah.
this gassy, limey, incredibly metallic kind of fragrance.
Yeah, it's honestly like nothing I've smelt in a scent before.
Yeah, it's definitely when you.
I feel like it's like almost waxy.
Mm. It's interesting you say that because Claire Presser mentioned that the smell of it
Yeah.
is like peeling the skin off a fruit or a vegetable that's been boiled. That sensation. I think it was an artichoke she mentioned.
Mm, yeah, I think she's quite right
Very
there as well.
It's a
slimy kind of
very,
feeling.
very specific
It is quite,
description.
but I think she's captured it,
yeah,
hasn't she?
yeah. Mm.
But also, this fragrance smells completely different on everybody.
Mm.
This
Wow.
changes on everyone, and it's really incredible the way it changes. Some people have that very lactonic kind of, scent
Okay.
association with it.
Mm.
Some people like very creamy. Some people have extremely gassy and like really zesty kind of notes. But the way it changes on everyone, I've sprayed it on so many people at Law Perfumery to just talking to them and having them try the fragrance. And on each person, it smells different. So each person has their own unique story with this fragrance.
Mm.
And what are some of the typical reactions that people have to the fragrance when they smell it?
They love it or they hate it.
All right.
Mhm.
So this is what you mean by it's quite
So
divisive.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those, and I would agree with you here. Of all of the fragrances in the range, this one is probably on the slightly more challenging
Very
end.
much.
But what we're talking about here with your fragrances is these aren't designer fragrances.
Nope.
These are niche fragrances. And in niche, when you're attracted to niche fragrances, you're not looking for necessarily easy wearing, smell like
No.
everybody else. You want something that is unique because you're wearing it to express yourself and your unique personality in the world. So
Personally, for me, the weirder the fragrance, the better.
Yeah.
Like, I love those horsey, pissy kind of hay-like fragrances. I want something that's going to be completely weird and crazy. Like bull's blood, for example. That fragrance is incredibly intoxicating. It just smells like pure blood. Those kinds of fragrances really interest me just because they are so different and they do conjure different images in your mind.
Mm. Do you have any advice for somebody who hasn't tried these kind of way out sort of fragrances in terms of how do you just go for it?
I reckon just get the samples. Just get as many samples as you can. Extend your internal scent library. And the more you kind of start to smell these things, the more you'll kind of make the connections between them. And once you've kind of extended that library, you'll start to pick up different things that you like or don't like. And then you'll start identifying those in certain fragrances as well. So I think exposure is the key here. Just expose yourself to as much as you want. I know in like most of my adult life, I've smelled as many things as I can just to kind of get that exposure, just out of pure interest. But I think it's definitely worth it.
it is so true. Like when I think about some of the fragrances that we smelt years and years and years ago,
Yeah.
and we went, oof, can't do it. And then we revisited those fragrances with all of the scent experience that we've had since. The appreciation that we have for the uniqueness of that smell, it's just completely transformed. And you're right, the more exposure that you get, the more you appreciate these things. And to be honest with it, when you're wearing a fragrance, fragrances aren't cheap, no matter what price point they're at. You want to smell memorable, don't you?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
stand out.
Absolutely.
I agree.
If you don't want to stand out, you just go buy like a CK1 or something.
Exactly.
Just
So
sort of
cool.
Boring.
run of the mill, boring.
No thanks.
If you just want to smell like shower gel,
Just stick to shower gel.
absolutely. And this is what we want. I think this is what makes niche perfumery, artisanal perfumery, and particularly Australian perfumery quite unique in the world. I think that we here, and I'm a little bit biased because we only do Australian perfumery here on the show, but I think we do some of the most interesting, challenging, experimental, beautiful fragrances in the world. And I honestly think that Australian perfumery, it's about to have its moment.
I agree.
I really do. I think we're right on the edge of it. So
Australians are daring in nature, and I think they've really taken it to this concept.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we often frequent Laura. In fact, I think we're only there on Sunday. And 'cause we can't come over this side of town and not go to Laura. They're lovely down there.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
And we'd love to we're not heading towards the easy smelling fragrances. We're going towards the challenging ones because we want to smell them. They're interesting. There's a story. We want to understand what's inspired them. So I can understand that this is divisive. It's one of those ones that you are going to have to get your nose on to know whether you like it. It is absolutely going to be, you're going to love it, you're going to hate it. One way you're going to feel something about it. You're not going to feel like, could or couldn't. You're standing on one side or another.
I will say this, it's extremely surprising how many people come up to me, friends, whoever, and say they love it, and never in a million years would I have conceived of the fact that they would love this fragrance.
It's really interesting. The more you mentioned gas several times through the descriptor here. It's amazing that is coming out.
It's weird because it's like, you're thinking gas, but for me, it's also sort of comes across almost like soap powder from like when the washing machine kind of scent as well.
And I think that's because slowly it's kind of burning down into the heliotrope vanilla kind of side of things. So this is where it's really rounding out the fragrance.
So where are we going to end up once this is fully dried down?
Heliotrope, vanilla, and amber again. Bit of an amber theme with a few of the fragrances.
Yeah, I am getting a little bit of the hints of the vanilla coming through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't get that yet.
It's really interesting. I think the the inspiration behind this one.
Yeah.
I think that the first note that I described here for me was like a metallic type scent. And I think now that you've said, it's inspired by sort of a post-humanism. I'm imagining sort of the cyborg type of, we're half robot, half human, and that's the sort of smell of that person. I think.
And then that very metallic texture, creaking metal, those kinds of noises associated with robotics, it all kind of fits into the narrative.
It's such an interesting question as well to say, well, what does our identity and our sexuality and everything mean in that type of world where there might not be that anymore? Just physicality might disappear, and we might all be in some sort of virtual space most of the time while our body is all mechanical.
Or what freedom we experience.
Which is another really interesting and deep question, and that is often explored in sci-fi. That is a fairly recurring theme as to where freedom sort of exists in that advanced society. But we won't geek out too much yet on science fiction, although we are absolutely sharing our reading list because I absolutely love sci-fi. Beautiful. This has been quite the experience. Now, I've lost track. Have we gone through all of our fragrances? I think we have.
Yeah, that's all 5.
Fantastic. So we've gone all the way through. Now, I have 100% lost track of time, but I know that we've had we've had enough time now for the for 5 a.m. to have dried down to get to those base notes. So I think it's probably time for us to revisit 5 a.m. But before we do, we can't leave our perfume pyramid behind. We've got to finish out our explanation. So again, on your screen, you're seeing the perfume pyramid, and where we're at is right at the very bottom of the pyramid. So we're at the base. And when we think about our base notes, which is where we're at in the perfume pyramid, the base notes are almost the opposite of those opening notes. So where we describe the opening notes as very light, very volatile, they appear in the fragrance quickly, but they also dissipate quite fast. The base notes are the opposite of that. They're quite dense, they're quite heavy, and they're quite persistent. And so after we've gone through this dry down period, what's left on our skin are those base notes and some of the remnants of the heart notes. So these are the notes that will stick with us through the 6, 8, 12 hours that we might actually be wearing the fragrance. So with all of that said, let's have another smell, and then we'll go through our notes. Definitely has evolved quite substantially, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as much on the blotter, but definitely on the skin. That this is very different to the opening here, which is why it's important to go through the dry down here. So, what are we experiencing here in the base?
So this is our amber white musk phase.
Absolutely, amber is definitely standing out for me, and that musky skin.
Yeah, it's funny though, because now I feel like I'm smelling grass.
Isn't that interesting?
It fits into the narrative.
It does.
Yeah, and just because we're at the base notes here doesn't mean that every other note has dissipated. That's not the way it works, of course. We know this, but explaining it for the viewer, we're still going to have the remnants of even some of those opening notes might still be lingering around a little bit. Those heart notes are there. What I still smell is the petrichor. Petrichor's still definitely still floating around in there, while we've got the those ambery and those musk notes there.
Is coming through for me as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we are telling stories here when we're describing fragrances. So where are we at in our 5 a.m. journey?
This, I think, is the final part of the journey when the sun finally rises and you have that sort of comfort and clarity to begin your day.
It's really stunning because it's definitely the little bit of floral comes through. Maybe it's musk, but musk is always hard to describe for me personally. But yeah, it's that beautiful brightening of the morning sun.
Absolutely. I just love that we've sort of come full circle with the fragrance as well. We described in quite a lot of detail when we were opening through our opening notes here that getting up at 5 a.m. and having that sort of hour to yourself before you start your busy, crazy day, and just being alone with your own thoughts and sort of getting prepared so that you feel nice and settled and at peace before you begin your hectic day. And that's where we've ended up. We've ended up at that peaceful zone.
Rested and ready.
Absolutely. And you've represented this in the fragrance. I think it's just such a beautiful story, such a lovely fragrance, so very fresh. I guess we've said with all of the sort of fragrances here, what sort of occasion might be best to wear them. For 5 a.m.,
I think this is anytime you need a mood boost.
Yeah.
This is the fragrance.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, and very easy to wear as well. Yeah.
This is the kind of fragrance where, I mean, we're in Melbourne, Olfactive Melbourne podcast, fairly obvious. Melbourne has been fairly miserable, would you say, in the last maybe week? And when I say miserable, the weather's just been awful. We are in autumn here in Melbourne, and it feels like summer just went done.
Yeah,
it's
so
over.
dark now. Yep.
So sad.
It's it does. It makes you sad, but you could put this fragrance on and not feel so sad. It's a real mood booster. This one, and again, you can wear this any time of the year, I think, and anybody can wear it. And really, it could be any occasion that you want. But this is one of those beautiful weekend fragrances. It's wear it during the day, wear it to work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's very versatile. I can see now why you selected this particular fragrance, because it's probably I mean, many of them are very versatile, but this is probably the most versatile out of the range.
I think a lot of those fragrances are loud, but there's something really gentle in the calm quietness about this one. It's very different, very unique.
I agree. Absolutely beautiful. Definitely worth getting your nose on 5am. In fact, it's worth getting your nose on the entire range. Very unique. You're not going to smell anything like any of these fragrances. And you probably got that from some of the descriptions that we were going through. Beautiful. That has been a wonderful masterclass, I've got to say.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. So I guess the next question for you is, what's next?
The sky's the limit, right?
Sky is the limit. So I guess, is the intent to expand the range in the future?
So Flora and I are currently in talks about the next fragrance. I want to make something that's very quite dark. And I'll give you a hint. We've been developing a latex accord.
Okay.
This,
Interesting.
I mean, I can't wait to find out what it is. But when I hear latex, I'm hearing naughty, naughty, naughty. Yep,
You would be right.
fantastic. I think I'm getting a sense of what this might smell like, which it sounds intriguing to me. I don't want to box you into a timeline, but is that something that we might see this year or next year?
Possibly at the end of this year. We're not kind of in a hurry just because Flora has moved overseas at the moment. So accessibility is a bit difficult, but it doesn't mean that our relationship has ended, because by no means do I want it to end, and nor does she. So we're in talks every now and then about it and about its development. We kind of put it on hold while she moved over. And I think there'll be a point sometime soon where we'll kind of pick up that conversation again and start redeveloping. I've got a few samples of some different things that she's sent out. It needs quite a bit of tweaking. So whereas I think these ones were quite quick to develop, I think this next one, the story, is sort of boxed into such a kind of paradigm that it's very important that we get this one right.
Yep.
I also want something that's going to be quite dark. So most of these fragrances, would you say, are quite light or like very much daytime fragrances, maybe with the exception of Undergrowth, which could be worn either way. But I really want to create something that will blow the dark apart.
Yeah. Okay. It's going to be quite deep, dark, mysterious, naughty.
Yeah.
I am. Yes.
Late.
A little bit taboo.
I'm imagining.
Okay.
I'm imagining dominatrix. I'm imagining dungeons. My mind is already going there because I know I've got a real sense of the brand that we might be headed in that direction, but we won't give it all away. All right. So we can't wait to get our noses on it, and certainly when the fragrance is released, we would love to have you back on the show, John. And so we can do a bit of a smell and you can
hopefully
take it
Flora can come too, and we can both be.
That would be lovely. As we said, we'd love to meet Flora. And at worst case scenario, if we can't get her in the studio, we can always have her virtually while you're here as well. And we'll find a way to make that work. Now, we did mention that it's really important to actually smell these fragrances, get your nose on them. Do you actually do sample packs?
Yeah. So we've got a discovery kit. I'll just show you here.
Fantastic.
So nice little design kit, kind of opens like a cigarette box.
Oh, yeah.
The idea is that you can basically just throw this in your bag and take it with you anywhere. So it was designed to be quite sturdy. Just keep it with you. All 5 fragrances neatly slot in there, and it's a great way to kind of just start with the range.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Good.
if somebody wanted to get hold of that sample pack, could they jump onto your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at ÖRÖKFragrances.au. So not .com.au, just .au. Otherwise, head down to Law Perfumery on Brunswick Street. They have all my stock there as well. Great bunch of people, wonderful girls. Please meet them and talk to them. They love talking about the brand, so go engage with them too.
Fantastic. And we have noticed that they do that, which is how we discovered the brand in the first place, and that was through Law. Now, in case you missed the website, that will be up on the screen for you right now. And for those people who are listening on Spotify, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we'll make sure that we embed the website into the description. So just go to the description, you'll find it there. Now, if you've missed all of that, on the screen right now, we'll have the QR code for olfactive.com.au. Simply scan that QR code. That'll take you to our website. We'll have John's profile there, and we'll also have links to the website. We'll have links to your socials,
Sure.
and so there's multiple ways in which to actually discover the brand and actually get your nose on it. And we highly recommend that you do start with the sample pack. Go through just what we've done today. In fact, you can revisit this podcast, smell along with us, listen to John's descriptions of the fragrance, and then make up your own mind as to which one you want. You might want all of them, and we'd highly recommend them all.
Yes, absolutely.
Start your collection off good.
Absolutely.
John, I just want to say thank you for taking us on this beautiful journey through the ÖRÖK. Did I say that right? ÖRÖK?
You're getting there.
World. It's been a fascinating journey for me. I've really enjoyed so much the time that we've spent together, and your fragrances are like no other brand that I've tried. So, unique and wonderful. So thank you so much for the
You're
time
very
that we've
welcome.
spent.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. I've got to say, it's always a great podcast when we can have a good old laugh and
Yes.
really enjoy the stories behind it. We can get a little bit cheeky,
Yeah.
and I've had a lot of fun on the show today, and it's been great to not only get to know the brand, get to know the fragrances, but also get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, likewise. It's been such a wonderful session. It's been great to meet you both. And, I can literally talk about this forever and ever and ever. So it's great to meet like-minded people who are generally engaging in the stories and can kind of see the vision and engage with that vision as well. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. We can't wait to have you back on.
And thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you've enjoyed the session as much as we have. If you have, please like and subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks and goodbye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.